I first want to just begin quickly. For those of you that don't know, Grid is a platform that's dedicated to real estate investors. It was actually founded in 2007 by a guy named Rob Chavez out of Washington, D.C. It has since grown to 14,000 members in 4 different states. And Grid offers monthly masterminds that are specifically focused on topics dedicated to real estate investing. I'm super excited to have been asked to lead Grid Philly, which launched last month. These sessions will be hyper localized, featuring local speakers, and I'm hoping all of you can continue joining. You know, the more people that join these, the more information we can all share, and ultimately the more deals we can do together, which is, I think, one of the goals that we have. So I'm excited to introduce Ellie Kutner.
Hi, everybody.
With Ellie. Yeah, welcome, Ellie. I've worked with Ellie many times before. Ellie is the founder of Sunflower Creations in Philadelphia. They're a staging, consulting, and design company. Ellie, tell us a little bit more about you.
So Sunflower has been around for close to a decade, and I've been with them for the majority of that period of time. Our main focus is vacant home staging. We also do a plethora of other things that are design and real estate marketing related. We do occupied home stagings. We'll do color consultations, finish selection consultations. We do furnished rentals and Airbnb design. So basically, you name it, anything that's design and real estate oriented is our bag. And I'm just really excited because it's a really cool time for Philly. You know, like the neighborhoods are really starting to have personalities of their own, and we're seeing a lot of new and innovative design happening, and excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, and so, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to have Ellie join is because what you're going to see as we go through tonight's discussion is that inventory levels in a lot of neighborhoods are starting to go up, which means competition is getting a lot more difficult. And as a real estate investor, especially if you're flipping properties, that means being able to differentiate your product versus the others. You know, no longer is the white kitchen and the white bathroom and the same subway tile going to fly anymore. And Ellie, if you don't have a knack for that sort of thing, can really help. So Ellie, thank you so much for joining. Just a couple of introductory things. First of all, I've got to give you a standard legal disclaimer that tonight's material is not guaranteed by Grid in any way, shape, or form. I have pulled all of the data that we're going to look at tonight from the multi-list, so it is accurate data. And I also want to invite you guys to jump in with questions, comments, stories. You know, this is not me giving a presentation. This is really about sharing information so that we all come out of tonight's meeting a little bit more savvy than we went in. So with that being said, let's get started. For my own knowledge sake, I Googled real estate market this afternoon. And some of the things that came up were 2021 will likely see the most robust housing market in 15 years. 2021 market housing outlook, no signs of slowing. Real estate is on fire. These are some of the national titles that came up. But really, I think as you guys all know, markets are extremely local. You know, if we think of the stock market, you know, the Dow Jones could be way up and you could still lose money on an individual stock. And the real estate market is very much the same. There's no such thing as a national market. So let's dive in and see what's happening in Philadelphia. All right, so start with the good news. Demand is at pre-pandemic levels. These are the pending sales. You can see that we had a big spike after the quarantine was lifted, and things have stayed really strong. In fact, the numbers today in terms of pending sales are what they were in May of June of 2019. So for any agents on the call, if you have clients that are asking you, you know, should I List my house now. Should I wait till the spring? Well, if they think the spring market of 2019 was a good time to sell a home, then the answer is absolutely get the house on the market, because you can see from this that the spring market has clearly already started in Philadelphia County. Now, the flip side to that is that inventory levels have continued to go up on a monthly basis. And in October, they were at their highest point all year. This is very, very much the opposite of what's happening in the suburban market. So if you take a look at this slide, the blue line here is Philadelphia County. The 4 lines below this are Delaware, Montgomery, Chester, and Bucks. And what you'll see are very similar trend lines right here until about March of this year. So even though there's more homes for sale in Philadelphia County, there's more population, so that makes sense. The trends are kind of similar. But right about here in April, you'll start to see the suburban markets decline in the number of active homes for sale. The number of homes for sale in Philadelphia is doing the exact opposite. So what we're seeing here locally are people moving out of Philadelphia County and into the suburbs. If we actually go a step further, this is Philadelphia County. We actually have 2 markets happening within the county. So the top lines here are the center city markets. I pulled Graduate Hospital, Rittenhouse Square, Queen Village, South Philadelphia. In all of the center city markets here, you can see represented, the trend lines are actually increasing in terms of the number of active listings for sale. The bottom lines represent Northeast Philly and Northwest Philly. So Northeast, we've got Mayfair, Somerton, Northwest Philly, Germantown, Mount Airy. All of those markets have decreasing inventory. Center city markets have increasing inventory. Questions so far on this, guys? All right, let's go into the individual neighborhoods. Who can tell me what month's supply of inventory means? Come on.
How many months before we run out of inventory?
Okay.
Take another stab at that, Matt. Essentially, I think that it's how much time it would take if no more houses were added on the market to sell the existing inventory.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Essentially, guys, this is supply and demand. So we can look at month supply of inventory, and we can essentially take the vitals of a particular market. Less than a 6-month supply of inventory is a seller's market. You know, really, I was taught it's less than 4 or 5 months supply of inventory, but 6 months or less is a seller's market. Between 6 and 7 months is a flat market. Greater than 7 months is a buyer's market. So if you have a market with more than 7 months supply of inventory, there are buying opportunities. If there's less than 6 months of inventory, there are selling opportunities. Let's dive into what's happening in the local markets. Here are the center city markets. So some good buying opportunities here. You can see the top line, Rittenhouse Square, we're running over a 10-month supply of inventory. That is not good if you're selling a house. That is fantastic news if you're looking to buy a house. So any investors on the call, Rittenhouse is a market that you want to look at to invest in if you want to buy and hold. Obviously, Rittenhouse Square will come back in terms of the values, but right now there is too much inventory versus the buyers. Rittenhouse Square, Old City, and Washington Square are all faring the highest levels of inventory or month supply of inventory, whereas Queen Village, Northern Liberties, Fairmount, and South Philadelphia are the center city markets with the lowest levels of inventory right now. Questions on that?
I think I would just add maybe not for Point Breeze.
Well, you know, believe it or not, Steph, Point Breeze is one of the lower trending you know, lines in terms of supply of inventory. What's interesting here is if you think about, you know, what some of these upper lines have in common, they are they are neighborhoods that have higher price ranges. So the lower level lines here, 19148, which is South Philly on the east side of Broad, and Point Breeze on the west side of Broad, are still running at about a 5-month supply of inventory, even though in many of those markets there are a ton of homes for sale. There's still a lot of demand.
Matt, would you say that those neighborhoods you mentioned, Rittenhouse Square, Washington Square, those are where all the condos are, and right now the condo market is just taking a huge hit?
Yeah, that's a really, really important point, Sean. I actually ran this to only include single family attached homes. So this is actually doesn't include any condominiums. What I would probably, if I had to take a guess, if you think about what Rittenhouse, what Washington Square, Society Hill, what they all have in common, the townhouses there are, 800,000, 900,000, $1 million plus. The demographic tends to be senior management, executive, and those people who can very likely work from home, either permanently or a couple of times a week without having to go in the office, are moving out to the suburbs. I'm seeing it with my own clients, and we can actually see it reflected here in the numbers. If we go to Northwest Philly, all right, so Northwest being Manayunk, Cedarbrook, West Oak Lane, Mount Airy, Germantown, Roxborough, you can see most of these neighborhoods are doing extraordinarily well for sellers, running about a 2 to 3 month supply of inventory. Manayunk is the red line. It's even still not too bad, peaking out at 5-month supply of inventory, but coming back now to 4-month supply of inventory. If you are looking to flip a house and you can find a deal in Northwest Philly, you almost can't go wrong in terms of having it sell, and very likely with competing offers. If we go to West Philadelphia, some really interesting data here. The lower line, the lower two lines are Overbrook Farms and Winfield. And if you really think about those two neighborhoods, they tend to have a more suburban feel. Overbrook Farms being single family, houses with yards, garages. Winfield, the same, close to City Line Avenue. But by and large, West Philadelphia is still a seller's market. West Philadelphia and University City, represented in the blue and red lines, are the two neighborhoods that aren't doing as well as the other neighborhoods. Again, if you can find a deal to flip in Winfield or Overbrook Farms, that would be a really, really good bet. We go to North Philadelphia and Temple. By and large, most of the neighborhoods are doing well. Kensington and Brewerytown at the top here are oversupplied, and Fishtown, Port Richmond are, really cranking it out at 2.5 months supply. Again, if you are, looking to flip a house in Brewerytown, probably not the best time to do that. That's a market that is oversupplied right now. Fishtown, Port Richmond, those properties are still selling very quickly. We go to Northeast Philly. This is probably the hottest market in Philadelphia County, believe it or not. I mean, look, we're trending here between a 1/2 month and 1.5 month supply of inventory. These are the sort of market conditions where you'll get multiple competing offers, where things will sell, virtually overnight, with many offers in the best terms for sellers. So Northeast Philly being Holmesburg, Bustleton, Fox Chase, Tacony, Torresdale, Mayfair. That is the most active market right now in Philadelphia County. Right, so what are the takeaways from this analysis? Well, my takeaways are this. There is strong demand right now. There's no question about it. We're not seeing this sort of, yes, question. No question? Right, so we're not seeing the sort of holiday slump as we normally see. And you think about it, people aren't at holiday parties right now. We're traveling for Christmas. So it's no surprise to me that demand is very steady. Now, with that being said, in many neighborhoods, as you guys just saw, inventory is increasing. So if you're flipping a property, differentiation, meaning condition, the selections you choose, the price becomes more critical than ever. Buying opportunities where there's more of a 7-month supply of inventory. If you're looking to buy and hold, Rittenhouse Square, Washington Square, Old City, Society Hill, Kensington, and Brewerytown all offer incredible opportunities right now to purchase because there's just too much inventory. Sellers are competing with each other, and as a buyer, that's going to give you the best price and terms. If you're looking to sell a property right now, anywhere in the Northwest, Mount Airy, Chestnut Hill, Roxborough, Cedarbrook, Oak Lane, as well as the Northwest, Winfield, and Overbrook Farms are all running about a 1 to 3 month supply of inventory. That means houses should sell quickly and oftentimes with multiple competing offers. Lots of information there in a relatively short period of time. What questions do you guys have?
Matt, are you going to make the slides available?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely. All right, if you guys think of any questions, jump on in. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, given that the market is becoming much more competitive if you're flipping a property, I've got to say, guys, I look at the expired listings every day, and each day I see flips coming off the market. That's not a good thing to see when an investor flips a property for profit and they can't sell it in 6 months. And the one thing that I see most in common about the properties that do not sell are the same kitchen, the same bath, the same everything. And as a listing agent, I hear that feedback from other agents. We just could not make a decision. We saw 10 properties, they all look the same. So if I have any recommendations for the investors on tonight's session, it's change up your designs and your selections for next year. Make the product a little bit different. Go out on a limb. You're not going to please everybody with the same boring white palette. Take a risk and you're likely going to appeal to somebody. So Allie, walk us through. Let's first start with color.
Mm-hmm. It seems that 2021 is going to be a really bold year for design. People are taking inspiration like they've never really taken it before from this previous year, which we don't want to dwell too much on or get too much into, but the big inspirations moving forward are colors and palettes from nature, because people are spending so much time outside of their house, the whole spring and summer. Global inspiration, that's where we're seeing these bright pops of color, the greens, the yellows, the really bold oranges, things like that. And that's sort of being derived from the aspiration to travel and to get out of the home and faraway places and things like that. And the other big one is functionality and making the home really cozy and a really, almost like a vacation and a multi-purpose everything space that, really fulfills a wider variety of purposes that we ever thought we needed. So we're seeing a couple different things in color palettes. We're seeing these pale, cozy blues and greens and pinks and the soft beiges and things like that. And then also, like I said, these bright pops of bold color, which you really wouldn't want to do an entire property in like a bright orange, but it's something that, you might want to use as an accent color somewhere creatively in the house.
Safe to say, because it used to be, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the standard builder palette was, an antique kind of warm white. Is it moving away from that direction? Because I'm seeing more shades of gray. I'm seeing cooler colors.
Even, the color of the year from Sherwin-Williams is urbane bronze. It's like almost like a gritty brown, moving away from white, no white at all. The gray, I think at this point we're getting to the end of, it's a little exhausted. even in bathroom design, where we are seeing still the use of like either the square white tiles or the hexagon tiles, they're doing, you know, like a contrast with the grout in different shades. And it's sort of more of a, you know, like a milky, earthy palette than the super contemporary white and gray, which people are not interested in at this point.
And we're going to get to the bathrooms in a second, but you know, just to kind of wrap up, you know, this section of color, I know personally when I go into a property and I see, you know, the beiges, whether it's in tile or whether it's in wall color, I immediately think 2005, 2010. You know, when was this property built? And I'll play games with myself and the client, like, when do you think this was built? And normally it's 10 to 15 years ago.
Mhm.
All right, so let's move into lighting trends. Now, you know, what's fascinating to me is you could take a plain Jane cookie cutter house and accessorize it with some really cool fixtures, right?
Mhm.
And immediately you would be different from most of what you see out there. So what's trending for 2021?
For lighting, we're seeing a lot of that industrial and reclaimed look, you know, a lot of the like brushed steel and things like that. We're moving away from anything that's smoky, foggy glass, anything brushed nickel is out, you know, any kind of silver. Gold is very popular this year. I personally am a big fan of pendant lights in flip properties, more so than chandeliers, because I feel like that then you get into some layout concerns. But I think pendant lighting is like an excellent way that you can really differentiate your property and give it a sense of style. Those Edison bulbs, that's something that has started to become more popular over the last couple of years, but very stylish right now, that clear glass.
Yeah, with the filament,
Mhm.
glowing
Yes.
filament.
Yes, yes.
All right, great. So in terms of bath tile,
Mhm.
you know, again, you know, I see so many properties with, you know, rectangular white subway tile, which was kind of cool 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Not so much now. It's everybody's doing it. And so, Allie, what is on trend?
Couple different things. That's one of those areas where that global element can really be played up. We're seeing a lot of those like Moroccan tiles, and you know, it doesn't even need to be the full bathroom, but you can do like a decorative panel just like that. You know, even if it was just the back of the shower wall and maybe not the whole floor. There's a really interesting with the hexagon panels, they're doing this sort of like drifting design where the panels will go up like half the wall and then sort of exactly just like that and then sort of drift. And I think that's like a very luxe look, you know, and mixing tiles. So you can see how the floor tile is something that you wouldn't even necessarily think would go with the back tile, but it definitely works.
You know,
And I
here's
think-
a bathroom with subway tile. You'll notice, first of all, they're gold fixtures, so
Mhm.
that sets it apart, but the tiles are square, and then they kind of mix it up here with the shower tile. So if you're gonna do a subway tile, you know, mix it up in terms of the shape of the tile, right?
Absolutely. I think a big thing to remember is that a lot of people, a lot of potential buyers don't necessarily have a strong sense of what they're looking for that comes from internal. A lot of it is what they're seeing in the media and on, you know, on Instagram and in catalogs and on Wayfair and things like that. So, you know, these things are what are everywhere, and these are the things that we need to be doing in, you know, to really differentiate these properties.
Another thing that you had sent me was a mixture, like bringing a wood element into the bathroom to warm things up. You'll see another thing that I'm seeing that's really popular are these solid slabs instead of a tiled backsplash. You'll see a solid slab of either granite or quartz that forms the wall of the shower or even the wall of the bathroom.
And you eliminate the grout lines.
as well as metallic tiles.
That too. Now that is a whole different, I mean, that is a very, to me, high-end look. And that's where we can kind of come in and help you know who your clientele is and, factor in what it is that they are looking like, why are they choosing this neighborhood? What is their values and what kind of home do they really want to live in? Like that is a very glamorous look and it's gorgeous.
You're saying if you're flipping a house for the first time, don't cover the walls in metallic
Right.
tile.
Well,
Right.
it's funny you say that because I've seen so many houses that are so bland that it's like they've taken no risk at all. And then there's others where it's like, wow, they've taken every risk imaginable and it's like every bell and whistle in the same home. So there's definitely a balance. And we definitely want to take into account that, we are trying to reach a variety of people, not just one specific person with one specific taste. But there are
So
ways
the
that
person-
you can
So the
infuse
person
these.
out there who, wants to make the bathroom distinctive, but not also make it boring, what would you recommend?
I definitely think some kind of a tile treatment, whether it be something like this or whether it be, some interest with the grouting or with the shape of the tile or with the pattern. Definitely the selection of the fixtures plays a huge part because they can, they can look total builder's grade, or you can do something just a little bit nicer that really makes it pop. The gold, very, very big right now. All of those things, lighting in the bathrooms, smart homes, that's not exactly design, decor per se, but, all of those little bells and whistles features that people wouldn't necessarily get in a builder grade property.
Yeah, and if you don't need to spend a ton of money to get upgraded fixtures or an upgraded lighting, so you can even do a more basic tile, but doing something that's going to make that space memorable and pop.
Mhm.
I mean, all the agents on here, we've seen it when you walk into a room and the buyer's like, oh my God, this is great. It doesn't take a whole lot. All right, so let's move on to kitchen trends.
Mm-hmm. Kitchen trends. So the gold finishes as opposed to the brushed nickel, which was really hot, and now people are just like not interested in it. The pops of color that can come into the cabinetry, that could come into, an accent wall. I've seen a lot of where the island is actually being painted as opposed to, just a normal install. And there's an opportunity to do something unexpected and very memorable. As far as counters, marble is coming back in. The white quartz countertop is sort of moving out of the forefront. Backsplash tile. Thank God we're done with the glass tile backsplash. I'm so you were saying that where you can like dictate when the home was built by things like that. When I see that glass, I'm just like, no, not again. And the appliances, we're moving away from the stainless steel. We're moving into the black appliances, matte finishes. The slate finishes are really nice. And hidden pantries. So there was this big trend with the open shelving several years ago.
Mhm.
And especially now because people have been home so much and they're cooking and everybody's in the kitchen all the time, they're finding that they want their pantries back. So that's a big one.
So gold. Here we've got
Gold,
pops of color
yes.
and gold and wood and
Mhm.
multi-tone.
Mm-hmm.
Huge right now. Again, mixing wood
Mhm.
with
Also in that kitchen, you'll notice there's no pulls on any of, well, except for the large cabinets, but the press open drawers, that's a big trend right now.
this waterfall edge on the
Mhm.
island. I'm seeing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you also see a ton of storage back here, which, is a big thing that's on trend, I think, for throughout the house, especially Philadelphia row homes where storage is, limited.
And also upgrading the appliances a little bit because, the kitchen is becoming not just the kitchen, but it's taking place of restaurants by and large right now. And people are just spending so much time in their kitchens cooking and exploring that, you know, upgraded appliances is something that they're becoming very aware of.
Yep. There's an example of a hidden pantry. When those cabinet doors close, it looks like a closet, and then it just becomes this whole other world behind there. And also matte black appliances, as well as slate gray, dark stainless steel. All of those on trend currently. Anything else to add?
Anything else for me to add? I guess I would just basically say that, you know, to me, it's very exciting because when I started doing this, Philly was sort of, you know, neighborhoods were starting to establish, and there wasn't so much style and so much emphasis on design and differentiation. And I think it's a huge opportunity right now. I mean, like you said, houses are flying off the market, but that's a really great opportunity to get top dollar for the property and give people something interesting to look at, and you know, just step outside the box a little bit. And we'd love to help you with that. If anybody has any interest, I'm assuming we'll all, you know, exchange information at some point in the near future, but we'd love to come out and at least just talk to you and, you know, certainly help you with home staging as well.
Investors on here, you know, I know a lot of you guys are masters of construction and maybe don't have the, you know, the eye for design. I would say, knowing what I know and seeing the inventory levels rise, bring a consultant in. You know, not only will it help a flip property sell more quickly, but more than likely you'll be able to more than recoup the investment that you spend on that sort of thing. So for me, to recap, you know, my portion of the discussion tonight, I would say be very, very careful if you are, I mean, just if we're talking about flipping property, if you're looking to do it in Center City, be super, super careful. Obviously, if you get a great deal anywhere, you can make it work. But by and large, you know, the neighborhoods right downtown in Center City are seeing an upward trending supply of inventory. We're seeing too much inventory, a lot of failed listings. I would be very, very careful about picking and choosing the best opportunities. If you can get a deal anywhere in Northwest Philly or Northeast Philly, even if you have to overpay a little bit, you'll likely be able to make it up on the back end, because those markets are extremely, extremely active right now. So I want to open it up to questions, either for me or for Allie, or for anybody who wants to comment, you know, about anything that we have discussed tonight. You know, whether it's an experience that you've had with a listing or flipping property, or questions about selections.
Matt?
Yeah.
I'd like to pose a question to Allie. First, I'd like to thank her for her information. It's been very, very interesting to listen.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure.
And Matt, I want to thank you as well. Great. Allie, what do you do for a property that's not, it looks like some of these designs are like $1 million homes, for a guy who's flipping in the $250,000, $400,000 range? How can you afford to do something like this? I mean, is this possible, this kind of design taste?
We pick and choose. I mean, you're not going to do every single feature. I mean, a lot of the pictures here are stock photography. They're not necessarily realistic for, you know, every single property, but there are definitely, you know, lighting and light fixtures is a huge one. You know, like the bath fixtures, things like that, tile. You know, I mean, depending on the property, maybe you're not going to go with the top of the line appliances, or, you know, the amount of cabinetry that you see in some of these properties, but these are sort of an inspiration to work off of. And I think that it's possible to get close to these types of looks, probably not for much more than you're spending, you know, with a normal safe palette.
Okay.
And that would be something that we would sort of look at on an individual basis. You know, we come out and we sort of take stock of the property and the listings in the area and what it is that people are looking for, and then kind of figure out where the focus should be and what makes sense.
You know, and things as simple as like cabinet pulls, or, you know, not having cabinet pulls. I mean, there are so many small things you can do to differentiate yourself, because trust me when I say almost every investor that's flipping properties is doing exactly the same thing. And when you have nothing for sale, or when, you know, places are flying off the shelves, like for example, that will work in markets like Mayfair or markets like Mount Airy or Germantown. But when you get into South Philadelphia or West Philadelphia, you're going to have to step it up in terms of what the property looks like and how you're differentiating yourself from the competition. Otherwise, the house will stay on the market longer and may not sell at all. You won't be able to cash out on your investment as much as you would if you invested a little bit more time and thought into it.
Mm-hmm. And
Ellie,
it's interesting to me too, because like as a design person, like when I was looking for a house, I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I want to make every decision on my own, you know, but the majority of people, they don't want to do any work. They don't want to make any changes. Like they want to walk in and have it the way they want it. And maybe they do end up even spending a little more, especially when there's so much competition, because, you know, they see what they want and then they want it. So it's definitely beneficial.
Other questions for Allie?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ellie. It's Steph. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. This is really helpful information. Matt, this has been a fantastic presentation. I really appreciate you putting this together. I wanted to ask, I own a few rental properties, and we went back and forth. We're in the middle of renovating a triplex right now in Queen Village, and we went back and forth about the floors there. And we had interviewed a bunch of contractors who were going to renovate, and one of the people that we interviewed and submitted a bid said that he was seeing high-end properties putting in luxury vinyl flooring in their rental properties. And I was just curious to see if you have any experience with that, if you have seen that, or if that was just, you know, a one-off and maybe some bad advice, because we're going with wood floors, but we were just curious, should we be doing luxury vinyl?
Interesting. I haven't seen a lot of that. I mean, the one place that I would say I see that sometimes is like in basements or, you know, like semi-enclosed areas that can open to the outside. I mean, they make really great options now, and some of them are liable to be more costly than actual hardwood floors, but I do think, especially with this like trend towards natural materials, that people are more impressed by hardwood floors, even if it's a really good vinyl replacement.
Yeah, that's
Would
what
be
I
my guess.
figured. I was just so curious to hear your
Yeah.
take. Thank you.
Unless it's like a basement where there's potential for water or something
Right.
like that, you know, I've seen the vinyl or ceramic
Well, even
tile.
if a, you know, more high traffic area, like an entryway for multi-unit building, it may make more sense if it's a more durable material.
If it's, yeah, I mean, in an
It's not
entryway.
going to
that
be pretty. I mean, we know that.
Or tile in the entryway can look really nice and be very durable too.
Mhm. And that's another good place where you could do something kind of out of the box and spectacular because it's, you know, a smaller area.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, guys? You know, the one thing that I want to end on, because I think, you know, all the agents on here, we're getting asked all the time, you know, should I, you know, what should I do? Should I list a property? Should I wait till the springtime? You know, what do you see happening? And all we can do is take a look at the data that we have right now. But with demand as high as it is in most places, and inventory levels continuing to go up, what we know happens in every spring market cycle is the inventory goes up even further. You know, it's like rush hour traffic. Everybody just jumps on the highway at one time. And as a result, you get this kind of log jam. You know, I am recommending to all my clients, get a head start on what you think the spring market is, because the demand is already at spring market levels. Could it go higher? Yes, it could. But could inventory go higher? Yes, it most certainly will. And when the inventory levels are outpacing the demand levels, then ultimately that's not good for any seller in terms of the selling price.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Are the real estate auctions operating now?
The auctions, like sheriff sales?
Yeah,
I have
'cause
no
I
idea, Ellie.
think, no, because I think they were sort of on hold at one point, and I mean,
The
I don't
Montgomery
even,
County
They
one.
still are.
Virtual.
They're not. They're not.
they're not operating. Okay,
Yeah, they're still
I was
on
just
hold.
curious about that.
Yeah, Lorraine and Edward can, I'm sure, give us an earful about what's happening with the city and auctions and permitting and all of that, but that's a discussion for a different night.
Trust me.
Any other questions, guys? I will be sending out copies of the slide deck to everybody who joined for tonight's session. We'll also have this recording available, and I would invite you to join for our next meeting, which will be the third Thursday of January. Let me give you that date now. That is Thursday, the 21st, and I'll send out everybody an invite. Any last questions for this evening?
Yeah, I've got another question for Allie.
Yes.
Matt, are you going to share the phone numbers somehow? You're going to?
Yeah, absolutely. I will share all of Allie's contact information. Sure.
So my question for Allie, how do you guard against kind of like a fad design or color, like maybe blue cabinets with gold handles or something? I mean, something that's gonna 2 or 3 years in, it looks like shag carpet or something. I mean, how do you guard it?
Again, I think it's by just choosing wisely which features you want to sort of go in a new direction with, where, you know, that's where we're gonna just say, like, we're not going to do every single trend that's happening right now, but maybe you pick one for the kitchen and like one for the bathroom or something like that. And just sort of, I mean, a lot of times the trends are the same. They just sort of come out in a different way, if that makes any sense. I mean, like, you know, taking inspiration from nature, like that's not something new. It's just something that's sort of being interpreted different right now. So, you know, I mean, there are properties in the city now that were renovated 10 years ago and people are still buying them. It's just you know, you don't want to do anything that's completely crazy. Like, I would not recommend painting the kitchen island orange or something like that. But, you know, there are small things that you can, like small adjustments that you can make.
And then if you're flipping a property, remember, I mean, what today's trend is, you know, if it's shag carpet in 5 years, it's not going to be your problem anymore. It's
that's true too. Is like once,
you know, and then again, if you're looking to update a rental property, obviously the selections are not going to be maybe as bold as you would for something that needs to catch a buyer's eye. So it really, you know, is tailored to the product and the use of the product that you are, you know, that you're working with.
and also looking at the other properties that are your competition around you, because all you really need to do is step a little further than they have. So, you know, you don't have to go completely nuts, but just something that makes you stand out.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me this Thursday. Happy holidays to all of you. And I look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure to be here. Nice talking with everybody.
Allie, for joining us. All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Allie.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Thank you.